Hi, I'm Dr. JayZ Campbell, and I want to thank you for taking the time to watch my videos. In today's video, I'm going to continue the discussion on the philosophy of hip-hop, and specifically today what I'm going to talk about is something that I'm sure everybody's familiar with. Even people outside of hip-hop are familiar with this concept, and as I've done in the previous 3 videos, I'm going to explain what we already know, but also add some insight into what we don't know, right? And specifically today what I'm talking about is the idea of haters, right? So I'm going to talk about what haters are. I'm not going to get into too much discussion on that because I think everybody knows what a hater is, right? And if you don't know what a hater is, I'm sure you've at least experienced hateration, if you will. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the idea of haters within the hip-hop community. But then we're also going to look at deeper aspects and more sort of foundational accounts of what haters are and how they function in hip-hop. Alright, so to begin the analysis, right, you ask yourself, what is a hater? And explaining a hater is something very easy, right? An individual that hates, detests you for whatever it is that you have, right? Because you've accomplished something. They hate the fact that you've accomplished it and they can't, right? They're envious of your looks. They're envious of your intelligence. They're envious of your wealth. They're envious of your status, right? So envy is important in understanding what the hater is, right? Haters are envious, right? They're envious people. Not only are they envious, right? But they also, I mean, I hate to get technical, but they also covet, right? They want what you have, right? They're mad that you have it, but they also want what you have. They want your beauty. They want your success. They want your intelligence. They want your money. They want your lifestyle or whatever it is that you might have, right? And we don't really need to go into too much more detail on what that is, right? Because we know what the hater is, right? The hater is someone who is not going to support your music despite the fact that they like your music, right? And this is where we can start to really look at least a superficial level of what it means to be a hater, right? And what it is that haters do, and more importantly, the whole point of this video on the philosophy of hip-hop, specifically on haters, pertains to what effects do haters have within the hip-hop community, right? And also what effects do haters have in the community at large. Before we can get to an understanding of what effect haters have in the community at large, we need to understand what effect they have in hip-hop. So you ask yourself, what's a hater in hip-hop, right? A hater in hip-hop, and almost every single rapper who's ever rapped has rapped a song about haters, the role of haters. So much so now that, I see t-shirts, people say, "Hi haters," or "I love my haters," and all this other stuff, right? There's a sense in which there's the belief that you really aren't successful until you have people who hate on you for absolutely no reason, because of envy and jealousy and so on. So you can imagine then that you have an aspiring artist, right? A young artist, a young MC, and this individual is trying to attain a certain level of success. But the way that you get to that level of success is by street work, by working, by being in your grind, right? And what do? You press up some CDs, you go to the studio, you perfect your craft, you go out onto the street, and now comes the time. Now's the moment of truth, right? You've put everything you had into it, you invested your money, you invested your time, you got a good product, and you're out on the street, and you're trying to sell your CDs, right? So you go up to the first cat, and you're like, "Hey, what's up? Hey, I have this CD. Do you wanna buy it?" And you're like, "Nah, man, I can't mess with that." All right, no problem. And after a while, "No, man, nah," you start to realize, well, why is it that no one's buying my music? Is it the fact that people just aren't interested in what I'm saying? And that could be the case, but that's not the point of this discussion. The hater, right, knows and acknowledges that what you've done, what you've accomplished, what you've attained, how you look, the wealth that you have, the clothes that you wear, whatever it might be, they acknowledge that it's something that they desire, right? You're not really a hater if you don't really care. You could be disinterested. There's a different word for that, right? So for example, if all I listen to is classical music and somebody comes up to me and tries to sell me a hip-hop CD, well, I'm not interested, right? I'm not a hater, right? I'm just not interested in what you have to offer. That's not something that I'm interested in. The hater genuinely is interested in the same things that they're hating against, right? The hater is directed towards, right? The hater is directed towards things that they want, genuinely want. But, here's the key point, but they don't have or they can't get it. They don't know how to get it, right? This is where the idea of their hate cultivates, right? And I'm using hate within sort of the street context, right? It's not, genuine hate. I wouldn't say it's malicious in that extent, not at this level, right? So at this level, it's sort of, I wanted to be that rapper. I wanted to be a JayZ. I wanted to be a Nas. I wanted to be a Biggie. I wanted to be a Pac. I wanted to be those rappers. And someone says, well, hey, are you gonna buy JayZ's new album? And I'm like, nah, man, I'm not buying that dude's album. Like, well, you like JayZ, don't you? You're like, yeah, I like him, but I ain't paying for that, man. Like, why aren't you paying for it? Oh, he already got money. He already got money. And it's not that you're not buying it because you don't have money. So, you might say, well, I'm gonna bootleg it because I don't have any money. Okay, but you're like, nah, I'm not gonna buy it. And this is something that MCs have faced from the beginning of hip hop, right? People who are gonna hate on their drive, their grind, their ability to try and succeed and get out of that, right? And I think some of the, this is not just all, but I think some of the greatest hustlers, in a sense, right? The people that work the hardest at getting their music out has come from the South, right? The South, and I mean, I live in the South, so I'm a little bit biased. I mean, I lived in New York for a number of years. But Southern rappers, and beginning with Master P, I mean, Master P really let it be known that you could create your own industry, right? You could corner off a whole market and make incredible money. But you started doing that from the streets, right? A little after him, Cash Money came up, and Cash Money basically did what Master P had done, right? You start in the streets and you build your label until your label becomes global, right? But it's that ethic, it's that work ethic, it's that hustle, right? And in a sense, the person who is striving to arrive at that place of success needs to continuously be battling the hater. Because at every step up, there's going to be more and more people who are going to tell you that you can't do it, that you shouldn't do it, that you're not good enough, that you're not smart enough, that you don't rhyme well enough, that it'll never make. There's always going to be someone there telling you the negativity to prevent you from getting to the level that you want to do. That individual within the community we call the hater, right? So at this first level of the analysis on the hater is there to distract you and also to detract you, to pull you down, right? To keep you down where they are, right? So that you don't excel and achieve the dreams and the goals that you want, right? There's the old phrase, misery loves company, and it's absolutely true, right? And you find yourself in a position where you're going to have to make decisions. Do I acknowledge the haters, right, and allow the haters to bring me down, allow the haters to dissuade me from the goals and the dreams that I want, or do I grow thick skin and just recognize that this is part of the game, so, And in another discussion, I'll talk about the game, but this is part of, and not game rapper, but the concept of the game, right? This is part of the game, right? So the hater at that level, on a very superficial level, and I think everybody knows this, I don't really think I've said anything new. At this level, all the hater does is the hater is there to drive you down, right? The hater is there to keep you sort of uninspired and hopefully to get you to give up on your goals. If you give up on your goals, then the hater succeeded, and now you have two haters rather than one hater, right? Because you're thinking about the dream that you could have had and what you could have done and so on and so forth, but you gave it up because you fell prey to the haters. Okay, very, very sort of, I wouldn't say trivial, but very sort of ordinary discussion of the haters. Nothing really new in that level of the analysis. There's a level deeper in discussing the idea of the hater, though, right? Especially in hip-hop. Especially in hip-hop. The idea of being a hater is actually far deeper than somebody saying that they're not going to allow you and they don't want to see you succeed in your dreams, right? That's a pretty bad thing already. Just off top, it's bad to have somebody say, hey, I don't want to see that dude get out the ghetto. I don't want to see him succeed. I want to see him fail. That's already bad. But there's actually something far worse than that on what I would consider a deeper level. On a deeper level, the hater is thinking to himself, right? And really what he's thinking, and you're going to have to sort of understand this for a second, is that, yo, that dude ain't gonna get rich off of me. Nah, man, he ain't gonna get rich off of me, right? So, for example, I don't know, let's say Weezy puts out a new album, right? And, you know, Weezy's in there, he's doing his flow, it's intricate, it's tight, it's flawless, right? And you think it's flawless, right? The haters like, man, that's a great album, man. That album sounds great. But like, man, you gonna cop that new Weezy album, or you gonna cop that new JayZ album, or whoever, Nas, fill in your favorite rapper, right? You gonna cop that new album? Nah, man, I ain't gonna cop that. Why not, man? You ain't got no money? Man, I got money. Why ain't you copping it? Man, that cat ain't gonna get rich off of me. He's not gonna get rich off of me. That's a far worse idea, and I'm gonna show you slowly the implications of that idea, right? You're not gonna get rich off of me. Well, the whole idea is, the hater, at this deeper level, the hater recognizes that what you have, right, what you have, the ability that you have, the talents that you have, the desire that you have, the goals that you have, the drive that you have, can actually get you out of a state of impoverishment. And not just capital, not just money impoverishment. You could be intellectually impoverished, right? You can be economically impoverished. You can be culturally impoverished, right? You might not know anything about anything, right? You might not know anything about hip-hop. That might be one of the reasons why you're watching this, right? The hater doesn't want you to see this, right? Because then there's more that you have, right? They want to keep you impoverished. The whole idea is, I'm not going to give, he's not getting my money. Nah, man. That cat ain't going to get rich off of me. And the idea is, well, why wouldn't you want to contribute, right? And here's the question to the hater would be, why wouldn't you want to contribute to something that would make your people, your group, your identity better off, right? Why wouldn't I want to contribute to the next, in hip-hop, right? Why wouldn't I, as a black man, want to contribute to the next JayZ album? He's already a billionaire, granted, that's off top, we know that. Or maybe not a billionaire, but he's definitely wealthy, right? He's already rich. The haters like, man, he's not going to get my money, man. He's already rich, man. He's not going to get more rich off of me. Why not take the other view and say, you know, well, at least when he's rhyming at that level, you know, when JayZ's at the top of his game, when Cash Money is at the top of their game, when Nas is at the top of his game, they're representing me. I want them to be up there, right? I want, whatever you do with your money is on your, you know, you do that on your time. The fact that you buying cars and clothes and jets and, you know, all that other stuff really has nothing to do with me. But what does have to do with me is that you're a representation of who I am. You look like I look. Why is it that when we talk about hip-hop, right, when we talk about hip-hop, and again, and I said this in the previous video, I don't know how true the statistics are, but the statistics say that the majority of people buying hip-hop don't look like me. The majority of people who are buying hip-hop are suburban white kids, right? They're buying hip-hop. Why isn't the black community contributing to hip-hop, right? I hate to say it. It's a bunch of haters. It's a bunch of haters in the black community, right? It's a bunch of haters in the black community, right? And I'm not, you know my style, right? My style is not to be negative and to be combative, but we do have to call it the way it is, right? You have young black men who have risen to the top of their game, who have overcome unbelievable odds, and members of their own community, members who look exactly like them, aren't willing to separate with money that they could separate with to contribute to that person's future rise, because the idea is he's not going to get rich off of me, right? And that idea that he's not going to get rich off of me, the only reason I'm not supporting it is not because I don't like the quality of the music, or I don't like the idea, or I don't like the message. It's not that. That would all be valid, right? If I say that I'm not going to support something because I don't believe in the message, then you're not a hater. That you just don't believe, or you don't support in what I represent. If you do support, if you do believe in, if what he's saying is something, or she's saying is something that has an affinity with the culture, with individuals within the culture, the question is, why aren't those people supporting that individual? And the reason why people aren't supporting, specifically black people, aren't supporting these rappers at that level, despite the fact that they're the ones who listen to the music, they consume the music, they don't purchase the music, but they consume the music, is because they're haters. Let's just call it what it is. It's a whole lot of hate, right? And this is not directed towards anybody, right? But it is a fact that there are going to be people who are going to hate on that progress, right? And that this is counterintuitive, right? And it's counterproductive. So at a little bit of a deeper level, what you end up recognizing is that you have individuals within the community who actually like the music, who actually, you know, have the music. They might have it in their MP3 player, they might have it on a CD, but they refuse to pay for it, right? So they are consumers of the music. They listen to the music, they know all the lyrics, they have all the albums, right? It's not that they don't buy it because they don't have the money, right? Because then you're just impoverished, and, you know, if you got a bootleg because you're impoverished, you got to do what you got to do. It's not that they don't buy the music because they don't like the music, because they do like it. They don't buy the music because, man, he ain't gonna get rich off of me. It's that idea. You're not gonna succeed off of my dollar. So before I give you a dollar and see you succeed, I'd rather not give you any money and watch you fail. The problem that the hater doesn't realize is that no individual hater, no group of haters is gonna stop a baby. Right? They're not going to stop a JayZ. They're not going to stop rappers at the top of their game, right? They're not going to stop a Sean Diddy, right? They're not going to stop them because their music appeals to so many people beyond the scope of the culture that those individuals are representative of. And obviously the culture that we're talking about is young black men, right? So that the appeal of their music is more expansive than the market of just young black men. But the question is, why aren't they, young black men, buying and contributing and supporting this music? Because they hate, right? Haters. Hence the idea of being a hater. So at the first level, right, you just have an individual, a hater, who they just don't want to see you succeed, right? They don't want to see you succeed. Misery loves company. They take a certain satisfaction in watching people fail, right? And that's a pretty bad level of hate. A worse level of hate, a deeper level, a more complex level of hate, is the type of hate that's born out of the idea that you're not going to get rich off of my money, right? But when you think about that idea of he's not getting rich off of my money, we know that it's false. Diddy is a multimillionaire. Baby and Cash Money, multimillionaires. JayZ, Nas, they're all multimillionaires, right? And they did it, right? And here's why they need to be respected, right? Because they did it without the support of their own people, right? They became who they were. If the statistics are true and black community isn't financially supporting hip-hop, right, and it's white America that's supporting hip-hop and subsidizing their lifestyle, if that is true, then they need all the more props because they did it without the support of their own people. And their own people listen to the music. It's not like, you know, black people don't listen to hip-hop. That's what that's the music we listen to, right? Not all of us, but most of us, right? That's the music that we listen. That's what most people in America listen to, right? Much less black people. So if there were, and not even since they were able to get to that level of success and they did it without the support of their own people, they need to be lauded. They need to be congratulated for that effort. Because that effort, I can't even imagine, right? Every corner you go, and I'm generalizing here, but every corner you go, everything that you try to do is someone telling you that, man, I ain't gonna support that dude, man, because he's not gonna get rich off of me, right? Now, we understand that within a hip-hop level, right? The mentality of, he's not going to get rich off of me on a hip-hop level. But there's a deeper implication, right, of that idea of he's not going to get rich off of me in a cultural level, in a socioeconomic level within the black community, right? Within the black community, the idea of he's not going to get rich off of me is primarily, I would argue, one of the social accounts for why black communities are as impoverished as they are. Okay, so you have a corner store, right? And the corner store, they sell, you know, corner store goods, right? You have you have whatever they sell in corner stores: chips, alcohol, whatever it is that you sell in a corner store, convenience store, right? And the corner store happens to be owned by a black man, right, or a black woman, or a black family owns the corner store. And right down the street from the corner store is a store that sells exactly the same products, exactly the same goods, exactly the same merchandise. The hours of operation are exactly the same, but it's owned by somebody who's not black, who's also not from the community. It's unfortunate, and this is a bit of a generalization, but I've seen it time and time again. I've lived it, so I know that it is true to a certain extent, is that the majority of people in the neighborhood, right, especially if the neighborhood is a black neighborhood, will not go to the black store to shop, right? Because the idea is he's not going to get rich off of me, right? He looks like me. He's one of my own. I'm not spending my money with him. I'm gonna go to somebody else's store who lives outside of the community, who doesn't look anything like me, and I'm gonna spend my money with that individual. And I don't mind that person being rich, but not the dude who looks just like me. This is what happens, right? So on an even deeper level now, right? And I know, and I'm sure you didn't think I was going to take it this deep in a discussion on haters, right? But on a deeper level, what the hater is doing, right? The hater suffocates his or her own community, right? The hater is, in a sense, responsible for the internal destruction, economic destruction, sociological destruction of the community. That's the whole point of the hater, right? The whole point of the hater is to destroy the community, right? And the hater isn't going out destroying a community that he or she is not a representative of. The hater destroys the very community in which he or she lives, right? So on a hip-hop level, if we're talking about going out and purchasing a new CD that, you know, this particular rap artist put out, nah, man, I ain't buying that dude CD, man. Nah, man, nah, he's already rich, man. Nah, he ain't getting good off of me. He ain't getting rich off of me. And you say, yo, isn't the album good? Don't you, man, the album's great. It's great, but he's already rich, man. I ain't supporting that, right? Well, other people are. In the community, it's two people, exactly the same services, exactly the same hours of operation, exactly the same goods. One is owned by a black couple, a black family, a black individual, a minority. It doesn't necessarily have to be black, it could be any minority. And the money isn't directed towards that individual, nor that individual's store, right? Because we don't want him to be rich off of our money, right? Nah, man, he's not getting that money. So what ends up happening? The money leaves the community, right? There's no money that's maintained within the community. You got a shop, I got a shop. Hey, check it out. I sell shoes, you sell convenience store stuff. I'll give you a discount on the shoes if you give me a discount on some of the convenience store stuff, right? Instead of doing that, right, and mutually building up the community, wherein we create a sense of interdependence within the community. Minority communities, for the most part, don't do that. They're not interested in creating interdependence, right? The whole point of the hater is to destroy the community, as I said, from within. The problem that ends up happening is that within the community, then, not only the economic, but the social and the cultural impacts depress the community in a figurative and a literal sense, right? The community is depressed insofar as individuals can't escape the community because things are so impoverished. But the question is, why are things so impoverished? Things are so impoverished because no one is keeping any money in the community. You know, I'm from the third world, and to talk about third world poverty and first world poverty, it's completely different. If you go to Jamaica, if you go to Haiti, if you go to Trinidad, if you go to Mexico, and you look at poverty in those nations, it's nothing like the poverty in the States, which is not to say that, you know, when we're talking about poverty, I understand that poverty is bad, but you're talking zinc roof, zinc house, no marbled floors, not even ceramic floors. You're talking about a zinc house, right? That gets 115 degrees in the heat, and you know, in the 30s at night, no insulation or anything. Like poverty at that level. Some of the biggest consumers in American economics is and are people who are considered and classified as being impoverished. We spend, as poor people, a lot of money. We spend an exorbitant amount of money. How do you think Walmart is making the billions of dollars that Walmart's making? Walmart's not making billions of dollars because they appeal to people who have wealth. No, they appeal to people who don't have money, and they're making billions from it. Well, if that's the case, then the question is not so much, well, is there money in is there expendable money that people have, because you know, you determine how you spend your own money. The question is, why isn't some of that money, why aren't some of those economic resources being used strategically and specifically to support individuals who represent the community? And if the argument is because, you know, they don't give back, right? You know, JayZ doesn't give back, Nas doesn't give back, Cash Money doesn't give back, and I'm sure I know that that's a lie. Then okay, then that's also not a hater. But if they are doing what they need to be doing, and the only reason that you're not supporting them is because, you know, he ain't going to get rich off of me mentality, then that becomes a problem, right? And that leads to the degradation of a community as a whole. At the deepest level, however, I think, and this is far more controversial, the hater plays a very detrimental role, right? If it's the case that the hater is, and this idea of hater is willingly allowing the community to collapse in on itself, then we have to recognize that, you know, when you see young kids walking around with shirts, right, and I'm from the culture, so I think I can make a little critique. Hi haters, and I love my haters. What you're not recognizing is that is extremely dangerous, right? I don't, you know, me personally, I've seen a lot of sort of hip hop shirts, and, you know, people are like, hey haters, I see you, or, oh, I love my haters. No, we can't love the haters, right? They can't, and I'm not trying to be on some vigilante things like we don't love the haters, but you, in a real sense, you can't love your haters, right? Because the idea that I love my haters, what you're saying, and I've seen these shirts, and I'm sure you guys have seen these shirts, when you're wearing a shirt that says I love my haters, what you're saying is that I love the destruction of my own people, right? That's what I love. I love seeing my own people be destroyed. I love to see individuals who don't want the better and the success of my community. Why would you love something like that? How could you love something like that, right? So, I mean, for me, you know, if there's anything that comes out of any of these videos, you know, it's not like I'm just talking for the sake of talking. I really want to see some type of change. And I think the first thing that needs to go is the shirts that say, I love my haters, right? It sounds like it's catchy. You know what, that's great. I love my haters, so on and so forth. But you don't want it to be the case that people actually think, oh, they love my haters. Well, let's be more hate. Let's add more hate. Let's be more hateful, right? Because what they end up doing is they want to pull down more and more individuals. They want more and more individuals not to succeed. More and more of their dollars are going to be escaping the community when those dollars could be staying in the community to help the community strengthen and get the community stronger. Rather, no, let's send that money elsewhere and get other people's community and other people's lives in order. In a lecture series that I'm doing in tandem with the Philosophy of Hip Hop series is a series on the pedagogy of the oppressed by Paulo Freire. And Paulo Freire, and I'm not going to get too deep because this is the philosophy of hip-hop, but it's very important that you see it. Paulo Freire, on a very, very simple level, all that he's saying in his book is that it is the obligation, it is the responsibility of the oppressed people to get themselves out of that state of oppression. It's not the person who already made it. It's not their responsibility. They already made it. It's not your responsibility to take care of me. I need to take care of myself, right? We need to take care of us. And if you're walking around with a shirt that says, I love my hater, right? If you're walking around with a shirt that says, I love my haters, then what you're telling me is not like, oh, I'm so cool. I've risen to such a status that look how many people hate me. That's ridiculous. What you're saying is that you love the idea of the type of person you agree with, and you love the type of person that wants to pull down members in your own community. You love the type of person that wants to oppress people who are already oppressed, right? That's what the hater does, right? The technical term for the hater, to be honest with you, is a sub-oppressor in Paulo Freire's Pedagogy of the Oppressed, but I'm not going to get into that, right? The whole idea is that the hater is a member of the oppressed group just like me, right? If we're talking about black men, the hater is a black man just like me. But the hater doesn't want to see me do good because the hater's not doing good himself, right? The hater doesn't want to see, baby driving around in the Bugatti because he ain't riding around in the Bugatti. The hater doesn't want to see somebody with a #1 record because he can't sell any records, right? You can't wear a shirt that says I love my hater because how could you, as an oppressed person, love an individual? How could you have any affinity with an individual who looks like you, who acts like you, who has the same responsibilities and the same oppressive forces that's holding him down or her down that you do, and they're continuing to try and suffocate and oppress their own people? Nah, not at all, right? So it's the idea. I get a little worked up, but the idea of the hater is far more deep, right? It's far more complicated than, oh, the hater's just somebody who's talking bad about me, right? That's because that's what people think. Oh, the hater, they just don't, they're envious or they're jealous, and yeah, that's true. But that's a very, very, very superficial account of what a hater is. At its core, the hater wants to see the very thing that he or she is a representative of destroyed, right? There's nothing, there is no more self-loathing, right? There's no more self-hatred that an individual can have than to be a hater. The worst thing in this world that you could be is a hater, right? If you don't have anything to say, when you're raising kids, and you tell a 3-year-old, you say, hey, if you don't have anything to say, don't say anything. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, right? right? Because the whole point is that all the hater has in his or her being is hate for his or herself. You're right. They hate the fact that they're black, right? They hate the fact that they can't rap, right? And what do? They want to pull down everybody else who reminds them of the things that they can't accomplish or won't accomplish, right? And that at its core leads to the destruction of the group, right? And in a sort of in a philosophical sense, right? You cannot allow members, we cannot, as oppressed people, right, allow members of the same group that we are associated with, oppressed minority group or impoverished group or whatever it is, a disabled group, to talk and try to bring down our group, right? It would be ridiculous to think of someone who had special needs arguing against the rights for individuals with special needs. That is so obviously ridiculous, right? If I have special needs, why would it be the case that I would argue against getting rights for individuals with special needs? Because clearly I'm going to benefit. The hater is different, right? The hater knows that he or she can benefit, right? The hater knows that there stands to be a chance for him or her to benefit from the struggle of people just like he is, just like she is. But the hater would rather watch it burn. So there's no love for the haters. There's no love for the haters at all. There's no love for the haters, right? You cannot, what we need to do as a community, hip-hop, as a community, is we need to stop talking about I love my haters, right? You can't love your haters because what you're saying is I love my own destruction. I love the destruction of my own people. I love the destruction of my own community. I love the destruction of my own culture. I love the destruction of my own music. I love the destruction of individuals who represent my music, right? Now I want to see JayZ succeed. I want to see Cash Money succeed. Because when he succeeds and JayZ can say that he sold more albums than the Beatles, that he sold more albums than Elvis Presley or whatever it might be, then I'm like, I'm glad I gave him my $10, right? Because he's making me look good. You know what I'm saying? Let's keep it real, right? He's making me look good. So we got to get rid of that mentality. There can be no love for the haters on any level. No love at all for the haters, right? Because the hater is the most dangerous thing to the hip-hop community, but the hater is also the most dangerous thing to the community as such. It's the individual that is resentful for the fact that he or she is a member of that community, that he or she is impoverished, that he or she is black, that he or she is whatever it is. They wish they weren't like the way they are, and they want to destroy the very thing that they are because it reminds them so much of themselves. It's this perpetual self-loathing. And I don't think any group did it better than the generation before mine, right? I'm a Gen Xer, and the baby boom generation, in their infancy stage, they had the idea of being black and proud, right? If that's what we're talking about, right? I'm black and I'm proud, right? I remember when I came up as a young kid, young kids were wearing, and I even rocked it, right? Young kids were wearing the chains with a big Africa piece on it, right? I was proud, you were proud to be black. Now, it's cool to be black. It doesn't matter. It's a given. It's not like I feel bad or good for being black. I just don't even think about it, right? Because it's just such a given. The fact that it's given now, the fact that I don't have to hold my head in shame because I'm a black man, is a result of people denying the rights of the hater. The hater was the black dude in the corner who hated being black. And he wanted to pull down all those other black people, right? So he did everything that he could be to not be black, right? You can't love that. Right, an individual who hates himself for who he is, I can't mess with that. You have to we as a community, as hip hop, we have to distance ourselves from that. And the thing that is plaguing our community right now is this just perpetual hate. We hate on everything. But what we do is we hate on everything that is a representative of our community. And what do we idealize? What do we glamorize? What do we glorify? We glorify opulence and wealth and money and all that, right? But we don't recognize that the way that these individuals, our representatives, made it to that level is they made it from the streets, right? They made it from grassroots, and they worked themselves out of there. You don't just hop, skip, and a jump, become a multi-millionaire, billionaire overnight. You don't hop, skip, and a jump, become a professor overnight. You don't hop, skip, and a jump, become a business owner overnight. These things don't happen overnight. The hater doesn't get that, right? And the hater realizes that he or she doesn't have the work ethic, doesn't have the diligence to be able to put in the time, to put in the hours, to put in the ingenuity to work hard to get to that point, and they just hate. So, you know, I'm not going to go more into that, right? When it boils down to it is that there can be no love for the haters. All y'all wearing your I love my haters shirt, throw them in the garbage. Because what you're saying is that I love to see the destruction of my own people. I love to see the destruction of my own culture. I support the destruction of people who represent me for the good. We need to get rid of that. There can be no love for the haters, right? And, you know, I'm not going to give a message to the haters, but, you know, individuals who have hate in their blood, they're going to have hate in their blood. I can't, you know, you can't change that. All that you can do is make sure that when you give your message, when you give your piece, that you're always giving props to individuals who come before. You give props to the old school. You give props to people who work hard for what they got and attain what they got. And we can't have hate in our blood for anybody, right? Especially individuals who come from the same communities that we come from. So with that being said, I just wanted to give a brief account of the hater. I wanted to talk and let you see, right, that it's far more devious. It's far more deviant than just jealousy and envy. There's a much deeper level of concept. There's a much more complicated notion of hater, and it's at that deep level that we are destroying our own communities, right? And as Paulo Freire says, if we want to free ourselves from this slavery, we have to do it ourselves. It's our obligation, and the way that we begin doing it, hip hop, is that we divorce ourselves from the hater, right? We don't have nothing to say to the hater, right? And you can kill them with silence. With that being said, I'm Dr. Jason J. Campbell. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch my videos. Tune in for the next installment. Thanks, and goodbye.